Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Leroy, and welcome to my channel, 40 and Broke, where we're all about getting out of debt, saving, investing, and getting our finances under control so we can live the life we've always dreamed of. Because that's what it's all about, living the life we've always dreamed of. So, I made a comment I should do some prison videos, and people have said, yeah, do some of the stories, tell some of the stories from prison. So, I decided, hey, I'm sitting here at a stop. What better time to talk about prison? So, one of the things I wanted to talk about was your mentality and how it affects you when you get out of prison. So, case in point, a week ago, I was at this very same stop, and it was a really nice day. Sorry that the lighting's going in and out. I'm in the truck, and the lighting's not great, so it looks like it's trying to auto darken and stuff, but so I apologize for that. But anyways, I was at this stop, and it was a nice day. So outside here there is a bike path, and I was walking down the bike path, and I probably went about a mile or two down the road. But anyways, I was sitting down, and I was actually going to record this exact same video. I think I was going to talk about mentality. Anyways, I was going to do a prison video, and I was procrastinating on it. I was thinking, okay, how do I want to do this? How do I want to say this? So, but anyways, as I was sitting there, some guy pulled up. He was riding his bike, and he just pulled up, just stopped out of nowhere. And so right off the bat, I automatically think the worst. I'm like, why is this guy stopping? And that's a mentality from prison. It's not everybody that smiles at you is your friend. So I'm like, okay, so why is this guy stopped? What's this guy talking about? What does he want? Well, so he sits there and he's like, hey, can you help me out? And I'm like, okay, what's up? And he goes to reach into his pocket, and I tense up because I'm sitting down on a bench, and I'm like, I'm about to tackle this guy because I think he's going to pull out a gun, and his whole point, he's trying to rob me. So he pulls out his phone, and I was like, okay. He's like, have you ever seen this before? And he shows me his phone, and there's like a lock screen on it, and he had a Samsung phone, and I don't know, it had words in Korean. It was like light blue. I'd never seen anything like it before. So I was like, no, I haven't. What's going on? And he tells me what's going on. He's like, I got to make a phone call, and in a couple hours, I don't want to ride all the way back to my house in order to make this phone call. He's like, man, think you can help me out? Can you call it? So he said, can you call my phone and see if that'll fix it? And so then the next thing that comes to mind is I watch all these scam baiting channels like CJ Scams and Tag Out Media, and I'm like, this person's trying to scam me. They want me to call them so they can put a virus on my phone and then get into all my stuff. So, like I said, it's that prison mentality. You think the worst of everybody. So I'm like, well, let me see it. Because I didn't want to call it. I didn't want to call it and risk getting like a virus on my phone somehow. Don't ask me how it would work. But hey, I don't know much about, viruses and stuff. So I look at it, and it said something about, do this to reset the phone. And I reset it, and it just went black. He's like, yeah, it's what it did before. It just goes black. And I'm like, okay. So I'm kind of looking at it. I'd like click it on, and very faintly, like the brightness had been turned all the way down. I could just faintly see the time. And I told him, I'm like, hey, you can see the time, but you've got a pattern code on here. I don't know the pattern code. So he looked at it. I kind of had my jacket up over top blocking the sun, and he was like, oh my God, how did you see that? And he did the pattern, and then he managed to get into his settings, turned it up, and fixed it. And he was like, holy shit, man. He's like, I'd have never got this. He's like, you are a lifesaver. You saved my ass. So the next thing he does is he says, since you're so mechanically inclined, can you fix my bike? And I'm like, what do you need? And he's like, I need the seat. I need the seat lifted up. So I'm like, okay. I'm like, yeah, that's easy. I've got this same bike. I said, you go like this, you turn this, you twist it. And all the seat was doing was twisting. He said the bike had been sitting in the garage up in the attic for like 10 years at his dad's house. And I think it was like just rusted in there. You couldn't get the pipe to move, so just the seat was moving. And I was like, well, if you get home, if you get a good sized set of a crescent wrench, or not a crescent wrench, but I forget what they're called now for some reason. The thought slips my mind. But I was like, you get them. I was like, you can grab on it and you can twist channel locks. You can twist it and break it free. And he's like, I got a pair of channel locks right now. And he pulls this bag out. And once again, I tense right up because now I'm thinking, man, this is a whole lot of bullshit long haul just to rob me. And he pulls out this tiny pair of channel locks. And I'm like, holy shit. So with that, I couldn't get it. It was too frozen. But he was like, man, this is awesome. I can't believe he's like, he sat down. He's like, and we were talking for a second, and he's like, I'd have never been able to fix my phone. This is awesome. Hey, what's your name? And I told him my name's Leroy. He asked me if I worked around here. Nah, I'm a truck driver. I'm just picking up down the road, And he's like, all right. He's like, just call me the chief. And I'm like, the chief? Just call you the chief. I'm like, okay. All right, chief. And so now I'm wondering, I'm like, the guy looked native. And the Odawa tribe is in this area in Petoskey. So I'm like, I wonder if I just met the chief of the Odawa Indian tribe. But it was funny. It's like, all the guy wanted was somebody to fix his phone and fix his bike. And my first thought was, this guy's trying to rob me. And that goes back to how it is in prison. In prison, everybody that smiles at you is not your friend. Everybody has an ulterior motive. Even when I would talk to guys, I had an ulterior motive with why I wanted to talk to them. Now, it may have been in their best interest, but there was always an ulterior motive. It was like, I don't want to see this guy get, taken advantage of by other people. So, always an ulterior motive. And I kind of had to break myself of that habit, that mentality out here, because I'm not super outgoing. I'll talk to strangers all day long, but I'm not like really outgoing. It's weird. It's something I've had to cultivate since I got out of prison, because when I got out of prison, I'd sit there and we could just not talk. I mean, and I can still do that. Like if I'm training somebody, well, I used to train at work, and if I was training, we could sit in the truck for hours, sit for an hour and not say a word to each other, and it doesn't bother me one bit. Some people it makes really uncomfortable, but me, we can sit here in silence the whole time. I could care less. But I really had to work on that. And over Easter here this last weekend, I was talking to my cousin, and he is a drug counselor. He's completely turned his life around. He didn't go to prison, but he went to county jail and then went through drug court and everything. And now he's a drug counselor, owns his own business. I've talked about him in the past. And he was like, the one thing he had to do to change everything was change his mentality. Because we have a huge family, very supportive family. Now, the mentality in our family is you work hard and you take care of your family. Family comes first. So we weren't taught wealth creation. We weren't taught to talk about money. I mean, you paid your bills and you did what needed done. You took care of your family, you paid your bills. But we had to get into that mentality of building wealth. And we had to learn about that mentality because otherwise we weren't taught it. And that's just, it's crazy. Your mentality is huge. You really have to change your mentality. And I'll say that about prison. You know, the one thing prison did teach me is it taught me to adapt and overcome. So that's the one thing. You've got to learn, whether you've been in prison or you haven't been in prison, you adapt and overcome. You know, not everybody that smiles at you is your friend, but not everybody that talks to you has, ill intentions. So that's one thing I had to learn, and it took me out of my comfort zone, learning to talk to people and just go out of my way to talk to people, especially strangers. Whereas mostly it's like, why are you talking to me? Who the hell are you? What do you want? What's your angle? I had to get out of that, and it really pulled me out of my comfort zone to do stuff like that. And I'm kind of glad that I did, because it just makes everything better. It's easier to network. You meet people that you wouldn't normally meet. So all right, everybody, that's just one of the little things I wanted to talk about, like how you have a certain mentality and you get locked in that mentality, and you got to change it. Sometimes you got to change your mentality and make things better. So, all right, everybody, have a good one. Take care. Like I said, let's get our finances in order and live the life we've always dreamed of.